Universal Peace by Abdul Baha Abbas. Therefore, oh, I think maybe the sentence before that. Even now, war is raging fiercely in some places. The blood of innocent people is being shed. Children are made captive. Women are left without support. And homes are being destroyed. Therefore, the greatest need in the world today is international peace. The time is ripe. Okay, that's the last. It is time for the abolition of warfare, the unification of nations and governments. It is time for love. It is time for cementing together the East and the West. Inasmuch as the Californians seem peace-loving and possessed a great worthiness and capacity, I hope that advocates of peace may daily increase among them until the whole population shall stand for that beneficent outcome. May the men of affairs in this democracy, America never had a democracy. People should figure what that is for themselves. Uphold the standard of international conciliation. Then may altruistic aims and thoughts radiate from the center toward all other regions of the earth. And may the glory of this accomplishment forever halo the history of this country. May the first flag of international peace be upraised in this state. May the first illumination of reality shine gloriously upon this soil. May this center and capital become distinguished in all degrees of accomplishment. For the virtues of humanity and the possibilities of human advancement are boundless. There is no end to them, and whatever be the degree to which humanity may attain, there are always degrees beyond. There is no attainment in the contingent realm of which it may be said, beyond this state of being and perfection, there is no other. This has achieved the superlative degree. No matter how perfect it may appear, there is always a greater degree of attainment to be reached. Therefore, no matter how much humanity may advance, there are ever higher stations to be attained because virtues are unlimited. This is the consummation for everything except virtues. And although this country has achieved extraordinary progress, I hope that its attainment may be immeasurably greater, for the divine bounties are infinite and unlimited. There are some who believe that the divine bounties are subject to cessation. For example, they think that the revelation of God, the effulgence of God, and the bounties of God have ended. Well, in some ways, why not? Why is it necessary to, if the teachings are preserved and being passed on, to continue to have this is self-evidently a mistaken idea, for none of these is subject to termination. While people have experiences and we're guided by nature itself and our own physical, our own beings, and the reality of divinity is like unto the sun, and the revelation is like unto its rays thereof. If we should assert that the bounties of God are not everlasting, we are forced to believe that divinity can come to an end, whereas the reality of divinity unfolds all virtues, and by reason of these bounties is perfect. Well, he's speaking to, were there Baptists among the group? Is that where this has come from? Where, well, he wants to call himself a prophet rather than a sermon giver, so, Were it not possessed of all these perfections or virtues, it could not be divinity. The sun is the sun because of its rays, light, and heat. If it could be disposed of them, it would not be the sun. Therefore, if we say that divinity, or sovereignty of God, is accidental and subject to termination, we must perforce think that divinity itself is accidental, without foundation, and not essential. God is creator. The word creator presupposes or connotes creation. God is the provider. The word provider implies recipients of provision. Another name for the creator is the resuscitator, which demands the existence of creatures to be resuscitated. If he be not the provider, how could we conceive of creatures to receive his bounty? If he be not the Lord, how could we conceive of subjects? If he be not the knower, how could we conceive of those known? If we should say that there was a time in past ages when God was not possessed of his creation, or that there was a beginning for the world, it would be a denial of creation and the Creator. Or if we should declare that a time may come when there will be a cessation of divine bounties, we should virtually deny the existence of divinity. It is as though man should conceive of a king without a country, army, treasury, and all that constitutes sovereignty or kingdom. Is it possible to conceive of such a sovereign? A king must be possessed of dominion, an army, and all that appertains to sovereignty, in order that his sovereignty may be a reality. It is even so with the reality of divinity, which unfolds all virtues. The sovereignty thereof is everlasting, and the creation thereof is without beginning and without end. Among the bounties of God is revelation, since revelation is progressive and continuous, and ever ceases. It is necessary that the reality of divinity, with all its perfections and attributes, should become resplendent in the human world. The reality of divinity is like an endless ocean. Revelation may be likened to the rain. Can you imagine the cessation of rain? Ever on the face of the earth, somewhere rain is pouring down. Briefly, the world of existence is progressive. It is subject to development and growth. Consider how great has been the progress in this radiant century. Civilization has unfolded. Nations have developed. Industrialism and jurisprudence have expanded. Science, inventions, and discoveries have increased. All of these show that the world of existence is continuously progressing and developing, and therefore, assuredly, the virtues characterizing the maturity of man must likewise expand and grow. The greatest bestowal of God to man is the capacity to attain human virtues. Therefore, the teachings of religion must be reformed and renewed, because past teachings are not suitable for the present time, like not wearing mixed fabrics and some stuff like that. But it's not that you need a new prophet to say, well, you can use a toilet. For example, the sciences of bygone centuries are not adequate for the present because the sciences have undergone reform. Well, facts are facts. Philosophy of science is a different thing than science itself. The industrialism of the past will not ensure present efficiency because industrialism has advanced. The laws of the past are being superseded because they are not applicable to this time. All material conditions pertaining to the world of humanity have undergone reform, have achieved development, and the institutes of the past are not to be compared with those of this age. The laws and institutes of former governments cannot be current today, for legislation must be in conformity with the needs and requirements of the body politic at this time. This has been the case also with the religious teachings so long set forth in the temples and churches, because they were not based upon the fundamental principle of the religions of God. In other words, the foundation of the divine religions had become obscured, and non-essentials of form and ceremony were adhered to. That is, the kernel of religion had apparently disappeared, and only the shell remained. Consequently, it was necessary that the fundamental basis of all religious teaching should be restored, that the sun of reality, which is set, should rise again, that the springtime, which has refreshed the arena of life in ages gone by, should appear anew, that the rain, which had ceased, should descend, that the breezes, which had become stilled, should blow once more. Therefore, Baha'u'llah appeared from the horizon of the Orient and reestablished the essential foundation of the religious teachings of the world. The worn-out traditional beliefs current among men were removed. He caused fellowship and agreement to exist between the representatives of varying denominations, so that love became manifest among the contending religions. He created a condition of harmony among hostile sects and upheld the banner of the oneness of the world of humanity. He established the foundation for international peace, caused the hearts of nations to be cemented together, and conferred new life upon the various peoples of the East. Among those who have followed the teachings of Baha'u'llah, no one says, I am Persian, I am a Turk, I am a Frenchman, or I am an Englishman. No one says, I am Muslim, upholding the only true religion. I am a Christian, loyal to my traditional and inherited beliefs. I am a Jew, following Talmudic interpretations, or I am a Zoroastrian and opposed to all other religions. On the contrary, all have been rescued from religious, racial, political, and patriotic prejudices, and now are associating in fellowship and love to the extent that if you should attend one of their meetings, you would be unable to observe any distinction between Christian and Muslim, Jew and Zoroastrian, Persian and Turk, Arab and European, for their meetings are based upon the essential foundations of religion. The real unity has been established among them. Former antagonisms have passed away. The centuries of sectarian hatred are ended. And now it's secular hate. Now it's worldly hatred. They don't argue about religion. They're going to argue about something else even more. Because at least they find, the opiate of the masses among it. But the period of aversion has gone by. The medieval conditions of ignorance have ceased to exist, while taking on new forms. Verily, the century of radiance has dawned. Minds are advancing. Perceptions are broadening. Realizations of human possibilities are becoming universal. Susceptibilities are developing. The discovery of realities is progressing. Therefore, it is necessary that we should cast aside all prejudices of ignorance, discard superannuated beliefs and traditions of past ages, and raise aloft the banner of international agreement. Let us cooperate in love, and through spiritual reciprocity, enjoy eternal happiness and peace. Talks Abdul Baha, delivered in Chicago, 31st of October, 1912. Talk at Hotel Plaza, Chicago, Illinois. Notes by Gertrude Buikema. In Los Angeles and San Francisco, great interest was manifested in the teachings of Baha'u'llah by the newspapers, universities, and churches. Our addresses were lengthy. The message of the cause was proclaimed, and arguments and evidences advanced. There was no dissent. All heard the glad tidings with complete acquiescence, and praise was unanimous, even including the ministers. The Friends in Los Angeles and San Francisco are very firm in the covenant. If they sense the least violation on the part of anyone, they shun him entirely, for they know that such a person is engaged in extinguishing the lamps of faith ignited by the light of the covenant, thereby producing weakness and indifference in the divine cause. So it's kind of like the Quaritch sect in that way. For instance, the firm ones teach a person, then the violators go to him and instill suspicion until he becomes lukewarm. They've become violators here in Chicago for 20 years. What have they done? Nothing. Have they been able to teach anybody? Have they been able to speak in churches or address audiences elsewhere? Have they been able to make anybody firm in the cause? They are doing nothing except extinguishing the lamps we ignite. The Friends in San Francisco are exceedingly firm. They do not receive violators in their homes. Recently, a violator went to that city. The Baha'i Friends turned him away, saying, "You are not with us. Why do you try to come among us?" Today, the most important principle of faith is firmness in the covenant, because firmness in the covenant wards off differences. Therefore, you must be as firm as mountains. After the departure of Christ, many appeared who were instrumental in creating factions, schisms, and discussions. It is difficult to know which one was following the right path. One of these disturbers was Nestorius, a Syrian, who proclaimed that Christ was not a prophet of God. This created a division and sect called the Nestorians. The Catholics declared Jesus Christ to be the Son of God, even pronouncing him to be divinity himself. The Protestants announced the doctrine that Christ embodied two elements, the human and divine. Well, the Catholics do too. But the Protestants don't take it as the human aspect as literally. Well, incarnation in a human form, but you know what I mean. And brief divisions were created in the religion of God. Well, Paul wasn't part of the religion of God, so you can prove through the Bible that Jesus was on a different religion. So was Jesus on the religion of God or Paul? You really have to make a decision. And it was not known which was pursuing the right path, because there was no appointed center to whom Christ referred everyone, no successor whose word was a gateway to the truth. If Christ had revealed the covenant with some soul, commanding all to cling to his word, and interpretation is correct, it would have been evident which belief and statement was valid and true. Inasmuch as there was no appointed explainer of the book of Christ, everyone made the claim to authority, saying, "This is the true pathway, and others are not," to ward off such dissensions as these, and prevent any person from creating a division or sect. The Blessed Perfection, Baha'u'llah, appointed a central authoritative personage, declaring him to be the expounder of the book. This implies that the people in general do not understand the meanings of the book. This is the appointed one, but this appointed one does understand. Therefore Baha'u'llah said, "He is the explainer of my book and the center of my testament." In the last verses of the book, instructions are revealed, declaring that after me you must turn toward a special personage, and whatsoever he says is correct. In the book of the covenant, Baha'u'llah declares that by these two verses, this personage is meant. In all his books and tablets, he has praised those who are firm in the covenant and rebuked those who are not. He said, "Verily, shun those who are shaken in the covenant. Verily, God is the confirmer of the firm ones." In his prayers, he has said, "O God, render those who are firm in the covenant blessed, and degrade those who are not. O God, be the protector of him who protecteth him, and confirmeth him who confirms the center of the covenant." Many utterances are directed against the violators of the covenant. What covenant will you be a part of? The purpose being that no dissension should arise in the blessed cause, that no one should say, "My opinion is this," and that all may know who is the authoritative expounder, and whatsoever he says is correct. Baha'u'llah has not left any possible room for dissension. Naturally, there are some who are antagonistic, some who are followers of self-desire, others who hold to their own ideas, and still others who wish to create dissension in the cause. For example, Judas Iscariot was one of the disciples, yet he betrayed Christ. Such a thing has happened in the past, but in this day the Blessed Perfection has declared, "This person is the expounder of my book, and all must turn to him." The purpose is to ward off dissension and differences among his followers, notwithstanding the safeguard and provision against disagreement. There are certain souls here in America, and a few in Akka, who have violated this explicit command. For 20 years, these violators have accomplished nothing. Have they accomplished anything in Chicago? The friends here must be like the friends in San Francisco. Whenever they sense the least violation from anyone, they should say, "Begone. You shall not associate with us."